Ghost War. Another possible campaign, the 7th campaign.
The long war continues. Abaddon's crusade of deception and attrition is proceeding as planned. With the twisted meanders of warp time in his favor, the War Master prosecutes a patient campaign that will see the forces of chaos triumph sooner or later. Like a duelist landing blow after careful blow, the Despoiler harasses the Imperial Juggernaut, looking for his moment to deliver the fatal strike. The records of the Terran Administratum, co-referenced by the Ministorum, and compiled within the sealed vaults of the Ordo Malleus, speak grimly of the war known among the ecclesiarchy as the Ghost War. Its origins are shrouded in deceit and shadow, for such is the way of the archenemy, and such is the hand of Abaddon the Despoiler, War Master of Chaos and heir to Horus. If you feel like bringing utter despair and destruction to the galaxy, the best place to do so is on the tabletop. And the best place to get what you'll need is our sponsor Chepeku, who are offering their new complete
if you desire
bundle.
to cause
This is a
worldwide
discounted
ending,
collection of the
universal
tabletop
ending
fantasy gaming
destruction.
assets produced by Chepeku,
Do it on the
combining
tabletop.
maps, scenes, and tokens. The stunning maps can be used as static images, but also feature animation and sounds when used in virtual tabletop programs, all of which work with Chepeku assets. There are more than 6,000 maps in the archive already, including sci-fi maps if you want to take your adventure right into 40k territory. The Scenes collection gives you thousands of backdrops for gameplay events, with variations for different times, moods, or themes. Tokens are a new system for easily portraying NPCs, monsters, or any actor in the world. There are loads of presets to use, you can customize them, or even generate tokens randomly to quickly bring out new characters or enemies. Every month, Chepeku releases 5 new maps, 5 new scenes, and more than 40 new tokens. To get them, plus the massive back catalogue, you used to need to buy 3 different subscriptions. But with the complete fantasy bundle offer, you need only pay for 2.
You'd have to buy 3 different subscriptions to get access to their previous backlog of maps? That's just silly. That's poor business practice. Bad business.
To get all 3. It's also much cheaper than their previous Patreon subscription method. It's the perfect time to bring their massive collection to your tabletop, or get some new material at a discount. Sign up at go.chepeku.com/wizards_warriors, link in the description. Whereas the 6th Black Crusade had been marked by open slaughter beneath a bloody sky, the 7th would be a war of silence and phantoms. The attack was launched in 811 M37.
So it's going in reverse
across
because of the
Gothic sector and
playlist.
beyond,
Gotcha.
The Eye of Terror bled darkness into the stars. As they had done countless times before over the past millennia, the defenders of Segmentum Obscurus manned their battle stations. Every single fortress world, orbital defense station, and forward outpost was given the order to prepare for the fight of their lives.
Cadia,
Able-bodied
always on the
civilian
edge.
populations were pressed into militia regiments or logistic corps. The rest were evacuated or converted into servitors to prevent panic and warp corruption. Ministorum priests, attached to the Imperial Guard regiments, offered blessings and last rites to the men under their care. From the darkness of the void, the Emperor's angels of death descended in their hundreds to protect his domain. More than any other planet in the Segmentum, Cadia became a hive of frenzied activity. The time had come for a new generation of Cadian shock troops to hold the line and defend the Imperium from annihilation as their forefathers had done countless times before them. Yet, as the brave defenders of mankind peered into the cold emptiness of space, no fleet was seen crossing the accursed threshold of the Eye. For a time, all was suspiciously and unnervingly quiet. Millions of guardsmen clutched at their lasguns with trembling hands, waiting for a blow that refused to land. Taking example from the enigmatic Alpha Legion, Abaddon slipped past the bastions of Cadia like a wraith beneath a storm, unnoticed by augurs or astropaths. The seemingly impenetrable Imperial front line was entirely bypassed without a shot being fired.
Ow!
One can only imagine the horror of the Imperial defenders when their scans finally picked up the presence of the War Master so deep within their lines. No one knows what methods he made use of, but within a span of weeks, worlds were gone, entire systems were left silent, and their Vox networks were choked by static and screams. The High Lords of Terror were caught in a
Difference between Abaddon and Horus. Horus was trying to not wipe out the worlds, he was trying to take them. Abaddon don't give a crap what that world looks like or what's on it. He's just like, oh, bomb it. So he's doing what I'm saying, using aerial bombardments. Good on ya, Abaddon, good on ya.
web of paranoia, beset by conflicting reports and phantom signals. The Ghost War had begun. The scattered remnants of the fleets of Battlefleet Obscurus, tasked with guarding the unstable passages around the Eye, found themselves outmaneuvered at every juncture. Abaddon's fleets struck without warning at their rear, before vanishing back into the void.
With nukes.
On the volcanic death worlds of the Harness Collective, Abaddon's warriors descended like shadows birthed from the Immaterium itself. Clad in Baroque ceramite and trailing warp-tainted fumes, they shattered the great geothermal seals that caged the planet's molten fury. Scalding vapor, thick as smoke, surged through habdomes and manufactoria. Entire cities vanished beneath waves of superheated mist, leaving only warped skeletons and seas of blistered corpses. Vox operators choked on scalding air as emergency frequencies cackled with distorted screams before lapsing into hollow static. Millions perished unseen and unheard, their flesh sloughing from bone as their souls were wrenched screaming into the waiting maws of the world. Further rimward, the void stations of Neas, ancient bastions of the Adeptus Mechanicus, succumbed to brutal desecration. In the obsidian-shadowed corridors of Neas Prime, the heretics ransacked the sacred vaults, seizing Archaeotech relics and Xenotech curiosities hidden since the long night. Plasma welders carved through adamantium vaults, while dark magi of the Dark Mechanicum reveled in the profane rites that followed. The tech priests were butchered and left dangling from iron gantries. Their lifeless forms swayed like morbid sensor bells, rusted augmetics etched with the sigils of the dark gods, still twitching with fading machine spirits corrupted beyond recovery. On Gyro's storm-racked oceans, the horrors deepened. Blood-maddened warbands, clad in brass-rimmed crimson, emerged from the maelstrom aboard vessels pulsing with Khorne's wrath. Amidst black squalls and tidal surges, renegade Astartes cast hundreds of silt miners into the abyss, where famished rift sharks tore them apart in feeding frenzies. Towering mining rigs were torn asunder, dragged beneath the waves by chains and harpoons, their skeletal remains jutting from the surf like the ribs of drowned leviathans. The oceans themselves became tainted, foaming red and black, as echoes of savage rites reverberated through the depths. Throughout these harrowing months, the Imperium flailed blindly, desperate to unmask the architects of this invisible war. Fleet masters of Battlefleet Obscurus deployed flare ships and auger relays, flooding the void with probes and vox incantations, yet only echoes and madness returned. Inquisitorial kill teams sent to recover survivors found only silent graveyards, drenched in blood and thick with the scent of ozone and burnt flesh. By the time the pattern emerged, it was far too late. Abaddon sought no singular fortress to topple, no grand bastion to storm. His ambition was a campaign of slaughter, a shadow war of bleeding cuts and poisoned wounds, designed to bleed Segmentum Obscurus dry, one blighted world at a time. Yet the traitor legions would not remain hidden forever. At Midian, beneath a blood-red sky, Abaddon revealed his hand in earnest. Deploying to halt Chaos advances, the Blood Angels were drawn into a brutal confrontation against the Black Legion and its warbands. Records are fragmentary, though one truth remains clear. Abaddon unleashed a fury reminiscent of his gene-sire Horus Lupercal. There, amidst shattered cathedrals and burning Prometheum fields, the sons of Sanguinius stood against the tide. Assault companies clashed against Khornite berserkers, their jump packs lighting the ash-choked skies. Devastator squads rained fire from crumbling bastions, but the berserkers could not be stemmed. From among them strode Abaddon himself, leading frenzied champions of the Skull Throne into the teeth of the Imperial defenses. The Canticle of Cassandria Lev speaks obliquely of salvation that came not from Terra nor Baal, but from the outer night. A grey-clad chapter of uncertain origin, their warships emerging from void darkness, fell upon the pursuing Black Legion. Some savants of the Ordo Astartes whisper that this was a rare intervention by the elusive Carcharodon's Astra. From the half-mythical writing of Saint Lev, Imperial scholars are told that these silent warriors fell upon the servants of the Skulled One with great fury from the darkness, unseen as the beast that lurks beneath the black waters. So were the remnants of the Blood Angels spared total annihilation on that day, and yet the Ghost War was not over. The final battle would be decided upon Makan, a dust-choked frontier world on the edge of oblivion. Its winds howled across barren plains, scouring the land with grit and ash. Settlers clung to existence, eking out their lives with meager dust mills, that strained to draw even the slightest moisture from the atmosphere. The planet was a place where the sun never fully broke through the haze, and where the only respite came from the scarce and precious moments when the dust storms subsided. It was here, amidst the relentless dust and the ceaseless howling winds, that the war reached its grim crescendo. Determined to halt the advance of Abaddon's forces, the Blood Angels chapter descended upon Makan in full force. Every warrior, every tank, every drop pod was summoned to the battlefield. Reinforcements from the Rampagers chapter joined the fray, adding the cunning of the sons of Jagatai to the ferocity of the spawn of Sanguinius. The entire legacy of Baal stood firm against the Black Legion's encroaching might. The chronicles recount Reclusiarch Thalastian Jorus leading the Blood Angels in prayer, his voice raised above the howling storms of dust and flame that roared around them. He stood resolute, his crozius raised high as battle brothers gathered in the sand, their armor pitted and scratched from previous engagements, but their resolve unbroken. Some claimed that the very winds were thick with the sorrow of the Imperium, as if the Emperor himself wept for those who would fall. The Black Legion struck with unholy precision.
I don't think the Emperor
Abaddon,
ever
towering
wept.
and black-clad in his Terminator
Unless he did
armor,
when he fought
led the
Horus.
charge with cold, brutal calculation. At his side, the Sorcerer Lord, Iskander Kion, unleashed the powers of the warp, twisting reality itself to his will, while the duelist, Telemachon Lyris, danced through the battlefield, his blade flashing with deadly grace. They carved a bloody path through the Blood Angels, tearing through them with glee, their bolt of fire and chainswords unable to halt the onslaught. The forces of the Black Legion shattered the Blood Angels' ranks, tearing through their defensive lines like a tempest. Assault Marines, leaping into the fray with their jetpacks roaring, were torn apart mid-air, their bodies falling in mangled heaps of gore. Devastators, positioned to rain death upon the enemy, were crushed beneath the weight of demon-infested war engines, their weapons useless against the infernal tide that surged towards them. Even the mighty Blood Angels could not withstand the ferocity of the Black Legion. Captain Acreon stood at the front, his armor engraved with the symbols of his chapter's ancient victories as he led the charge against Abaddon's warbands. Their final confrontation would echo through the ages, a brutal reminder of the duel between the angel and the fallen warmaster Horus. Striking with all the fury of a battle brother who had lived through countless wars, Acreon clashed with Abaddon beneath the burning sky. The battle was swift and brutal, but in the end, it was Abaddon's blade that struck true. With a final fatal blow, the captain of the Blood Angels fell, his power sword clattering to the ground, his life extinguished in an instant. By the time the battle ended, Makan had become a wasteland. The sky was choked with ash, and the stench of death hung heavy in the air. The warriors of the Black Legion had left their mark upon the world, and the Blood Angels, though fierce, had fallen beneath the weight of their enemies' might. The plains were littered with the bodies of both sides, a grim testament to the carnage that had unfolded.
Man, how did the Blood Angels
Winds,
even
now
recover
heavy with
after
the stench
that?
of burnt flesh and shattered armor, carries the whispers of the fallen, lost forever to the brutal tide of war. Yet even in defeat, there was defiance. Days had passed since the battle's end, and the dust of Makan still clung to the air, heavy with the scent of burnt flesh and scorched earth. The Black Legion had desecrated the fallen, Blood Angels and heretics alike, leaving their broken bodies strewn across the land like discarded refuse. Where the blood of the faithful had once soaked the ground, now only ash remained. The sky itself had seemed to darken further, as though the very heavens mourned the loss. Yet even in this endless blackness, there was still a flicker of hope, a final act of defiance. Reclusiarch Thalastian Jorus, though gravely wounded and haunted by the madness of the Black Rage, had not fallen to despair. In the weeks after the carnage, as the traitors reveled in their victory and corrupted the dead, Jorus and a small cadre of his surviving brethren emerged from the endless wastelands, each clad in the black armor of the Death Company. Cloaked by the swirling dust storms and the cover of darkness, they advanced like wraiths, seeking a final vengeance against the heretic warmaster. It was a testament to Jorus' skills as a warrior and leader that he managed to retain control of his insane brethren under such conditions. The tale of what transpired next has passed into whispered legend, shared only in hushed tones within chapels and librariums, for none who witnessed it fully understood the depths of the madness that drove these Astartes to such fury. It is said that Jorus and his warriors...
They watched nearly their entire chapter get wiped out. They had a reason.
whose minds were twisted by the curse of their gene father's death, tore through Abaddon's personal honor guard with a fury that exceeded anything the heretics had ever seen. Fueled by an insatiable bloodlust, they became living embodiments of wrath, unrelenting and unstoppable. The very air seemed to tremble with each strike of their chainsaws, as if even the planet itself recoiled from their anger. Amid the carnage, as Black Legionnaires fell before them like leaves, Joruus found himself face to face with Abaddon the Despoiler.
Of course he won't win.
In the heart of the battlefield, amid the ruins of Makan's shattered landmarks, that the final confrontation unfolded. The sky above was a tapestry of lightning and smoke, casting jagged shadows across the blood-stained ground. Driven by pain and honor, Joruus locked blades with Abaddon in a clash the likes of which the War Master had not experienced since his duel with Sigismund. Some say the fight lasted mere seconds. Others claim it raged for hours beneath a sky that crackled and burned with the fury of the gods themselves. What is certain is that, despite Joruus's unparalleled
my cat's being annoying and wants food.
of his warriors, Abaddon emerged victorious. Imperial records speak of deep scars upon the Despoiler's corrupted form that no apothecary could heal. These marks, whispered to be the traces of the Emperor's will through Joruus's sword arm, are with Abaddon to this day. They haunt him even as the grim darkness of the 41st millennium draws to an end, a constant reminder of the defiance that had dared to rise against him. When the Death Company had finally fallen, their bodies scattered and lifeless, Abaddon left them undisturbed. Joruus and his warriors were not discarded like the others. Abaddon, in his own dark way, honored them. The Death Company warriors were seated upon makeshift thrones, carved from the broken bodies of Black Legion corpses. Their once proud forms, now broken, were arranged as though they were kings in the ruins of their glorious defeat. A final farewell to warriors worthy of the name. In the end, Makan stood as a hollowed husk, scarred not only by the weapons of war, but by the scars of the soul, the echoes of a battle that had torn apart everything in its path, leaving only the faintest trace of defiance in the hearts of the fallen. In the final years of M37, the Blood Angels were a broken force. Their gene seed, desecrated beyond recovery, lay scattered across the blood-soaked dust of Makan. It would take centuries for the Sons of the Angel to recover their strength and rejoin the war across the stars. The Black Legion, bloodied beyond Abaddon's decimation, withdrew to the Eye of Terror, leaving ruin in their wake. Fabius Bile, the twisted apothecary of the Emperor's children, received from Abaddon a tithe of corrupted Blood Angel gene seed, harvested from the dead. With it, Bile would craft horrors to serve the Despoiler's will in campaigns yet to come. Mankind
Fabulous Bile. Another reoccurring theme. That guy don't quit being, a giant dick. I mean, what he did to Vulcan. Ugh.
Meanwhile, licked its wounds in silence, for few could bear to speak of the Ghost War's shadow. Of all the Black Crusades, few were so defined by whispers and phantoms, yet so costly in pride and blood. For the first time since the War of the Beast, a chapter bearing the glorious name and legacy of a founding legion had almost ceased to exist. The cemetery world of Hypercities, orbiting a dead star in the galactic north, became the final resting place for Makan's fallen. Upon its obsidian walls, in ancient fresco and bas-relief, the faces of the mysterious grey-armoured space marines who turned the tide at Midian are still depicted, while the desperate deeds of the Blood Angels are immortalized in all the splendor they deserve. Some claim the 7th Black Crusade was but a probing strike, a cruel jest before the Despoiler's true designs. Others insist it was a test of the Imperium's vigilance. The truth is locked.
Feels like Abaddon is just doing guerrilla tactics. Just every century or so, he hits a bunch of stuff, then he retreats, comes back again, rinse and repeat, over and over and over. I wouldn't really call him a war master. I just say he's doing hit and run tactics with a lot of guerrilla warfare.
Within the walls of the Inquisition and the madness of those who survived it. What is certain is this: where once stood proud chapters and thriving worlds, now lie dust, silence, and the echo of laughter from the Eye of Terror. More stories from the Warhammer 40k universe are on the way, but in the meantime we are planning to cover the battles of many other fantasy, sci-fi, and space opera universes, so make sure you have subscribed and pressed the bell button. Please consider liking and sharing as it helps immensely, and don't forget to comment. We'll try to read and respond to every comment, as we want to know what you think about this video and which videos you hope to see in the future. This is the Wizards and Warriors channel,
I'm assuming
and
this
we'll
next
catch you on the
one should
next
be
one.
like the Bither.
Hey there everyone, if you enjoy this content, like and subscribe, and comment down below. Thanks again.